Hey, everybody, you are watching and listening to the We Are Rising podcast. This is your host, Andrew Benjamin, joined by very special guests. I use that term a lot, but I actually really do mean special guests, like times 10 in this case. We got Hafid Darbaki from Rizin.tv, one of the Rizin office people who will be talking with us about what he does with Rizin TV, English outreach, and we'll be talking a little about Super Rizin 4. Hafid, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
So if you haven't seen, Hafid's already been on Focus Fights with Jay Christian Gary and Jay Wolf. That's a very great um, appearance that you did. Explain a lot of that went into the Otoko Matsuri show. So check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, you're finally on the. Well, I like to say you're officially on the show because one time you were on for like I think an entire like preview. So that's like your unofficial first appearance, I think.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but yeah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? How did you get involved with Ryzen?
yeah. Basically, like many other people, I'm just an MMA fan originally. Um, to make the long story short, I grew up playing soccer. I had a knee injury. I tore my ACL, and I was looking for something else, something other than soccer to be interested in. And I actually started watching a lot of boxing. It was actually like maybe 6 months before Mayweather fought Pacquiao. I got really into boxing. And around that time, I also started watching the UFC. And after I started watching MMA, I stumbled across like all the Pride backstage videos. This is about 10 years ago, and just fell in love with Japanese MMA. Fell in love with the ring, the drama, the stories, the fighters, the characters. And then, that was in 2015. And then I remember spending that summer. I came back from my freshman year of college thinking, like, oh man, I wish Pride was still around. And then a few months later, Rising got announced at the Bellator show. So yeah, a lot of things lined up. And, from there, I reached out and got connected to the right people. And slowly but surely started off as an intern, took on a bit more responsibility. And now I'm here in Japan.
So I guess a lot of people, when they hear that you're working for a Japanese company, I think the kind, and as an American as well. What is it like to work as an American for a Japanese company?
Yeah, I think in my case it's a bit interesting. Maybe many Americans who work in Japan they come through like a variety of paths. So maybe there's a lot of English teachers. Maybe they work for an American company that has HQ or an office in Japan. In my case, I'm working for a Japanese company. So beside myself, there aren't any other Americans in the company. I'm actually the only one. Of course, we have people who lived in America, maybe worked in America, that are also in the company, but yeah, I guess it's a very unique experience having to adapt. Um, Thankfully, there's a couple of other English speakers in the company, so if I ever really needed some help or some guidance, I can kind of turn to them and lean on them. But having to basically pick up Japanese from scratch um, definitely was it took some time to get used to, and I'm still experiencing the growing pains now. But thankfully, I've been able to pick up enough to communicate with my coworkers, and if they ask me to do something, I know what they're saying. I can let them know if I can or can't do it. But yeah, honestly a very fulfilling experience, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. So I'm very happy to be here.
Because I don't know if a lot of people who watch this might know, but there's a lot of different cultural norms that do come with working with a company, like how you address your boss, how you address your coworkers, the fact that it's well known that usually if the last person to leave, I think, oh, hold on, how's it? I think the last person to leave is the boss, or is the first person? I forgot how that
You
goes usually.
Yeah,
How
you
is
have
that?
to wait until your boss leaves before you can leave typically.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, were you at all nervous, like trying to get used to the cultural norms? Because I mean, I'm sure you worked with American companies, and you just obviously you know how to work, how that comes, all the how to work for an American company. But we were just worried that like, oh God, I just hope I don't accidentally call my boss Bara-chan or something like that, or just say Miss Hey Bara or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting in my case because I'm not working for like a typical long-standing Japanese company. I think Ryzen is a bit unique in that regard. A lot of my coworkers are actually I'm actually I'm not one of the older people in the company, but I would say there's a good amount of people that are younger than me in the company. So the vibe in the office isn't as like structured and formal as one might imagine compared to other traditional Japanese companies. So it's been pretty relaxed in that regard, but definitely a lot of how can I say, respecting the hierarchy is still it's still definitely embedded within the work culture. You can't just go around asking people to do things for you. You definitely have to put in the legwork, build those relationships, establish the trust. Do things for people around you to gain their trust. So there's still, I definitely felt the necessity for that more so than in American companies. Um, I guess I consider myself fortunate in the sense that uh, for some reason or another, a lot of my coworkers tend to enjoy my company. They like talking to me. They like being around me. So maybe I'm given a bit more slack, and I get to play the foreigner card a lot more. They give me the pass to for any faux pas I make. So I'm very grateful for that.
The other thing also is that, in case anybody can't tell from your name or how you look like, you're Middle Eastern. So I don't know, a
Yeah.
lot of people, I don't want to say that people that typically, a Japanese company will more expect a whiter person to work for them. Was there any worry about also just like that aspect being like, I'm a Middle Eastern from the middle of Minnesota coming to work for a Japanese company? Were you at all like, oof, nervous about that?
No, so like in my case, being ethnically ambiguous, I like to say, my father's from Morocco and my mother's American. My mother's white, so I'm half white, even though I don't look very white. But it's interesting coming to Japan and talking with people. When I say I'm American, they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're American." So that they just treat you like you're an American. I mean, I think they tend to lump foreigners in general just all together, like, oh, okay, either you're Japanese or you're foreigner, and then from there they'll categorize you. But Japanese people, they have a great reputation of being very polite, very respectful. Even if it's not necessarily what they truly think, they will still treat you very kindly.
Hmm.
And I guess no, I never had any anxiety, or I never felt any, you know, I never felt I never felt any discrimination, definitely within the company or from my coworkers. It's been a largely positive experience.
And we don't call it ethnically ambiguous anymore. We call it Pedro Pascal ambiguous. That's what we call it now.
Pedro Pascal ambiguous. I like that. That's funny. I'm going to use that from now on.
So when did you actually start working for Rizin? When did you go from intern to full time employee?
Yeah. So I worked as an intern remotely for quite some time since my college days. Obviously, no pay. There was nothing like no formal outline for what I was doing. Um, I was working freelance even when I came to Japan. I was still working freelance, and I recently became a full time employee. So the timeline, uh, to put it simply, was I worked for years as an intern, and I was doing my own thing in America. I had a full time job. I was coaching soccer. I was doing a lot of things in America, and if they needed something, like for example in 2022 when Floyd fought Mikuru, the second time Floyd came to Japan, I flew out to Vegas with my twin brother, and we filmed the interview. I did the interview with Floyd. We also did some pieces on Spike and Johnny, just as freelancers. So yeah, it wasn't until quite recently actually that I became a full time employee.
Because I know you mentioned in the Rizin Discord that you were gonna you were supposed to do something with Crystal Stokes, and I'm thinking that's like 2016 or 17. I think that was right.
Yeah, so that was, yeah, when I
Well,
was
that
an
was
intern. That was
supposed
like
to be
when I
one of the
first
first things you
started.
did, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay,
was one of the
gotcha,
first. I,
gotcha.
I had to do a write up, yeah, for Crystal Stokes. That was a
That
long
was
time ago. I was still in college.
okay, gotcha, gotcha. So you were working with Rizin almost since they began, almost
Yeah, yeah. I
like
think
really like yeah.
yeah, the first time I came to Japan was New Year's of 2017. So it was the third New Year's show, and we're coming up on the 11th New Year's show. So I've been with them, I guess you could say, maybe for like 80% of the
Okay,
company's history in some capacity.
yeah. I consider the first two shows non-canon. Those are like the two non-canon shows that we that yeah, yeah. You could if you never if you didn't get a chance to see them, you didn't get a chance to see him, but yeah. Okay, so I see. Okay, so from that time, from when you first started working till now, what has what have you seen like the biggest changes have happened working for Ryzen?
Um, I would definitely say it's been the development of the domestic talent. Actually, having a homegrown Japanese star. I think in the early days of the company, you saw a lot more emphasis on like, okay, we're bringing back Krokop, we're bringing back Fedor, we're doing this open weight Grand Prix, we're doing this heavyweight Grand Prix, and a lot of the emphasis we had Yuri Prohaska fighting for us for 4 years. He fought maybe 13 times for us. He fought many times for us. So I think the transition from okay, we're on domestic television, we have this TV deal, transitioning from that to the pay per view system that we have now, and along with the Asakura brothers becoming extremely popular, bringing in some of the breaking down guys to fight at our events, just seeing an entirely new generation of fans becoming interested in MMA is definitely the biggest difference, I would say. When the first 3 or 4 years of Rizin's operation, I would say, we were still trying to pull in the old Pride fans. So a lot of those people in their 40s, 50s, and maybe their kids were not so interested in MMA. There's no one for them to look up to or admire. But I would say that's the biggest change, is just actually having a lot of homegrown talent and getting that younger generation of fans.
So Ryzen's whole international, you just so everybody knows, you oversee Ryzen.tv, the English, I guess, portion of Ryzen.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, we have an international
I should say
department, and
international. I should say international. Yeah, international.
yeah, we have an international department, and I'm overseeing the social media, the website, the pay per view platform. Yeah, I manage all of that.
So Ryzen's whole international, I guess, history is very interesting. They had the first show for us, which we got for free on through Side Games. Then Fight TV. Then I guess there was kind of a little hiccup in the world, so there was really none for a while. Then there was the one that I can't even remember what it was called. Go Fight Now,
Live now, live
live
now.
now. That's it, live now, which is no longer around with us. Back to Fight, and now Ryzen.tv. So, well, how did Ryzen TV itself come about as your guys' way to distribute your shows?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So in my case, from being on the outside looking in, and eventually, stepping in as an intern and just being able to, I guess, advise or contribute in any way that I could, I was looking at, okay, what does Ryzen not have that would make a big difference internationally in pulling in more fans and kind of centralizing the fan base somewhere. We don't have our own website. We don't have our own streaming platform. You look at KSW, they have KSW TV. You look at the UFC, they have UFC Fight Pass. You look at a lot of these promotions, and they have kind of their own platform that they're on outside of the TV deals that they have. And so I felt like that was something that if we were able to launch that, it would make a big difference. It would make a big impact for the international fans. Um, Hindsight is 2020. If we had something like Ryzen TV from, I don't know, 2017, I think Ryzen's popularity would be a lot more than it is right now. But that's obviously, that's our goal. That's what we're working towards day in and day out, is looking to expand the fan base and getting more people interested in Ryzen. So, we're very proud of what we've been able to build over the last year with Ryzen TV, and we just want to continue building on that.
So actually, I want to also talk about that because it's as do you as you got into MMA, you got into MMA at a very interesting time. I've
Yeah.
been watching MMA. I would say, as a hardcore fan, definitely before a long time, a longer time than you. Let's just put it that way. That's not a brag at all. That's also not a brag at all.
I understand.
But
Yeah.
the fan base has changed in a way that's almost, do I say it's almost difficult to almost get yourself out there as MMA. Listen, there's many MMA approaches that have come and gone, and there's many that are somehow still around that I can't even explain how they're still around. But what is the difficulty with trying to get yourselves guys out there and saying, no, this is what we present. This is what you guys you can see these types of fires here. You can see with this type of rule set. Uh, and like, is it difficult to really just break through the glass ceiling? I'm gonna the that glass ceiling that I would say TKO uh, basically has a 95% uh,
Market share.
yeah,
Yeah.
market share. That market share on.
Yeah. So I think, like I said earlier, I think we're very fortunate to be in the position that we're in. We have a very storied history. Japanese MMA has a very storied history. And I think the appeal is still very much there. It's so different from what you see in other promotions. If you tune into any other promotion, and this is no disrespect to them, that KSW, Octagon, Cage Warriors, these guys put on great shows and they develop lots of great talent. You see many of their fighters go on to fight in the UFC, and they're fighting for belts, they're winning championships, whatever. But you tune into their promotions, and a lot of what you see is pretty similar. I do want to give credit, definitely, to KSW. They've put on amazing like soccer stadium shows, and they have the whole pyrotechnics and the opening ceremonies, and that's, I think, what is going to help other promotions differentiate themselves and break through. There's obstacles, of course, like the time difference, and maybe people aren't, you know, they don't buy into what the companies are doing because they don't have the prestige of claiming like we have the best fighters in the world. That's kind of the appeal of the UFC. It's not so much about the storytelling. When the UFC gets the storytelling, it makes the events that much more bigger. There's a lot more anticipation, like when Conor and Khabib fought each other. Obviously, Max Holloway's fighting Dustin Poirier. There's a story behind the fight. That's why people care a lot more about these fights. But if you tune into like an Apex card, most people are just tuning in because, oh, it's the UFC. The brand is very strong. They have that claim of having the best fighters. But if you tune into a KSW show, if you tune into a Rizin show, you see something that's a little bit different. I think especially with Rizin, and obviously we have our events in a ring. The gloves are a different color. The officials wear something different. Everything about it is different. The crowd is very quiet during the fight. They only react when something dramatic happens. There's just so many things that differentiate Rizin from other promotions that I think, there is that avenue we have to break through, and it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of investing more energy, more manpower, and I think also kind of depending on the TKO/UFC fan base, maybe it's not going to be enough for them to just kind of have this, an event every weekend where 90% of the card is unranked. Maybe they're not buying into, okay, this is not what I want to watch anymore. I want to watch something different. Um, and once again, this is no disrespect to what any of these other promotions are doing. I think they're doing a wonderful job. They're making money. They're putting on events that people care about. But I think there's a niche for sure.
Mm. So one of the questions that we had that King Silo wanted me to ask, and he didn't know how to frame the question, but I'll try to frame how I think he wanted to ask it. Was that so? Like when it comes to marketing shows, the posters or the videos that you guys put out, are you do you and I guess the regular Rise Japanese marketing team like? Do you guys converse, or does Ryzen.tv kind of just do their own thing, or do you kind of try to put it on a similar trajectory? Is there anything you could talk about with that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking about like the art design for like the posters,
Well, because I saw the Mikuru clever posters, and they are totally different than like I guess it feels like they're different than like the poster that just came the typical Ryzen poster that comes out. And I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of the Japanese videos, so I don't know if like a lot of the Japanese videos that Ryzen puts out are similar to like the English trailers or something like that Ryzen.TV puts out. Yeah, I'm just is there any synergy between the two departments, or you just kind of brainstorm your own ideas and you go with that?
yeah. So I think obviously the essence of what Ryzen is definitely what you see in our marketing efforts domestically within Japan. The trailers, the posters, it's all very unique, and there's a clear vision. There's a consistent theme with each of these posters, with each of these trailers. I think what we're trying to capture in the content that is tailored towards the Western fans is we want to show them something that still has that Ryzen esque design, but it also wants to be have a bit more of a Western taste in the presentation. So we don't want to throw away the baby with the bathwater. We want to keep what makes Ryzen unique, but also maybe make it a bit more palatable for the Western audience. Um, and I think that's up to the fans to decide, based on how they react to it. If we make something and they like it, great, we'll keep rolling with that. At the end of the day, the fans, they're the people that pay and make the shows happen. They're the ones that show up and make the shows happen. So we definitely want to be sensitive to how they react to our content. But yes, we there's definitely synergy between our domestic marketing efforts and our international marketing efforts.
And so with Ryzen TV, what are your, if you can talk about it, what long term goals do you want to see Ryzen.tv eventually? Because right now we just have Ryzen shows and some interviews sometimes, and the archive obviously. But like, is there
Mhm.
any other stuff that you want to hopefully try to get? Let's just say within the next 5 years.
Yeah. So my vision from the beginning has always been to serve as an umbrella for any companies or organizations or promotions that we have partnered with, that we have alliances with, to make the events more accessible. I think Ryzen as a platform from the beginning has, it's served as a federation, meaning that KSW sends their fighters here, uh, Bellator sends their fighters here, and they compete against each other. Like you're seeing with the Grand Prix, the heavyweight Grand Prix right now, we have guys from Croatia, guys from Russia, guys from Germany, guys from different parts of the world. France, we had the hexagon heavyweight champion Prince Aunala. We had many fighters from around the world, and so as kind of keeping consistent with that theme as a federation, my goal with Ryzen TV has always been okay. Obviously, Ryzen has a relationship with the other domestic promotions in Japan, Deep, Shuto, Pancrase, Heat, Zest, Fighting Nexus, all of these promotions that I think would be easy to work with in terms of arranging to uh, getting their product and their fighters and their talent that could be on Ryzen one day, making it accessible for the Western audience, for the international fan base. So that's been my concept from the beginning. But obviously, we've had to really, really focus on our bread and butter, which is our Ryzen events, and making sure that we have a clear, how can I say, system or routine for how we promote our events first. So that's something that we've been building on for the last 18 months or so. And my goal, as I stated before, it's definitely I don't know when it will happen, but and maybe it's ambitious, maybe it's optimistic, but to get other promotions on our platform and kind of serve as an umbrella to get the other leagues in the international eye.
One of the things I've learned about Japanese companies is that they love working together until they don't want to work together, and especially when it comes to ownership, TV rights, or intellectual property rights. I know Japanese companies are very, very iron willed with wanting to own their stuff. So all I can say is best of luck. I hope that works out, man. I really hope that works
Yeah,
out.
yeah. I'm led to understand that there's a lot of different relationships. A lot of it is based on relationships, and you have to build that trust, and you have to make the right connections to make those types of those collaborations happen. So as I mentioned before, obviously, once we have everything nailed down for Ryzen events, and I highly anticipate that we're kind of rounding the bend there, and we're getting a lot of our ducks in line for Ryzen TV. But yeah, that's definitely something that I want to work towards.
I do know one kickboxing promotion that could really benefit from being on a streaming service. I'll just leave it at that. So I think one of the things what people might want to know is I certainly want to know is what is it like working for under Shingo and Sakaki Bar? Like what are they as your uh senpais?
I think Shingo would contest, me calling him a senpai. but but honestly, I think it goes without saying that Sakakibara-san, he's a legend in the sport of MMA. And I remember the first time I met him, I was only 22 years old. I had just turned 22 years old, and I was so nervous and I was so excited. And this is a guy that I had seen in documentaries, I'd seen on YouTube, I'd seen him, wrapping the belt around a lot of the fighters that I really admired from when I was 19 years old. And so working under him and seeing him walk into the office every day, sometimes I have to pinch myself and be like, is this really Sakakibara-san? He's like right behind me. And So obviously, it goes without saying, it's a massive honor to work with such a respected promoter and such an awesome person. Um, and working under Shingo's been the quintessential leader for me. He's been very patient with me. He's taught me a lot. I owe everything that I have in Japan. I owe it to Shingo. Shingo has been he's the man. I don't know what else to say. He's just a very generous person, a very knowledgeable person, a very capable person. I don't think there's anyone that can replace him in the world of MMA, let alone in Rizin. In the world of MMA, I think he is that talented of a person, that hardworking of a person. So, um, likewise, it's just an absolute honor to work under Shingo.
I mean, he was doing basically your job almost as well before you came along. It sounded like so.
Yeah,
He was kind of the one. He was kind of like the wizard from the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain.
yeah. Shingo, he was, I like to say he was working a dozen jobs before I came. Now he's only working half a dozen jobs.
Oh,
So
okay, that's good.
he's a very busy man. Actually, he's headed to South Africa as we speak. he's
Oh,
yeah, because Takeshi Izumi, we're sending Takeshi Izumi to
oh
go fight
yes,
in
I forgot.
PFL in Cape Town. So yeah, he's heading over there, and it's a when it comes to building these types of relationships like Ryzen has with other promotions, um, you have to make those types of sacrifices. You have to give up time from your personal life, time from even from tasks that you have. Right after this weekend, we have our Super Ryzen event. So Shingo's off in South Africa, making sure that everything's going smooth over there, and then he has to turn around, come back to Tokyo, and where it's fight week. Like he's right back into the swing of things, and we have to welcome all of the fighters that are coming in on fight week, all the international fighters. So yes, it's that's one example of many as to why I respect Shingo so much.
Mm. I did say we're going to talk about Super Ryzen 4, but also it is the 10th anniversary of Ryzen. That's also why we're having you on. So I did want to give you an opportunity. So, what are, let's see, I'll say three highlights from working with Ryzen for 10 years. What are three highlights? That's three things that stick out for you the most? Anything.
I do have to say, definitely the first time I came to Japan, the first event that I experienced, it was the Bantamweight Grand Prix of 2017 when Horiguchi won. He beat Ishiwatari in the finals. Um, walking into the Saitama Super Arena for the first time, being in the arena for the fights. I remember one thing that stood out for me most. This is going to be kind of cheesy, and I'm very biased for these types of memories, the nostalgia. But it was actually when Horiguchi fought Manel Cape in the semifinals. Horiguchi had just knocked out Gabriel Oliveira 2 nights before. Manel had beaten Ian McCall 2 nights before on the 29th. So it was the 31st. It was New Year's Eve, and Horiguchi obviously he fought Manel, and he ended up winning by submission in the third round. And it was the first time I've experienced it many times since then, but it was the first time I had experienced 25,000 people in the Saitama Super Arena within a split second. It went from dead silence to the crowd is just erupting with cheers and roars, and their national hero. He made it to the finals, and Horiguchi jumps up on the ropes. He has blood on his face, and he's celebrating his win. And it was a very 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 special moment, and it's something that I'll never forget. That's the first one. Other than that, honestly, the it was when I met Floyd the second time to do the interview. It was in 2022. That was just special for me because he is also someone that, like, when I was in college, I was like illegally streaming his boxing matches to watch his pay-per-view fight. And it was I remember watching like the HBO All Access whatever, kind of like the countdown show for Floyd Mayweather versus Marcos Maidana, and I was like watching these, and I'm like, man, one day I would love to be doing something like this as a career. I would love to be involved in marketing these types of sporting events, whether it's boxing or MMA, and to kind of have the chance to sit down and speak with him for 20 minutes. And at the end of the interview, he tells me, like, you're one of the best interviewers I've ever had. That was something that's obviously going to stand out for anybody to be said, to have that said to them. And that was like the first interview I had ever done with a professional athlete. So that was pretty amazing. And I'm gonna kind of cop out on this third one, but I think the third one is yet to come. I think the third best memory I will have working for Rizin, it's yet to come. Whether it comes, next weekend at Super Rizin 4, whether it comes on New Year's Eve, I'm really anticipating something big these next 5 months or so to round out the 10-year anniversary of Rizin. But yeah, that's what I would say for now.
So I just want to remember, was this the you said the second interview? This is the one for the Mikuru fight, right? Where he's sitting down.
Correct.
Okay, this is was that okay? A little bit off topic, but did he actually know he was fighting Mikuru? Because I don't think I ever heard him say his name once. So I'm convinced that Floyd didn't actually know his opponent's name, or at least not know how to pronounce it.
Oh well, he
I watched that
in
interview, and he didn't even mention like he kept on saying my opponent, my opponent. He never said like Mikuru or Azakura.
yeah, he even told me, like, because obviously I'm in the interview, I'm kind of like touching on Mikuru's background, like he was a juvenile delinquent, and he was in, he had this type of experience growing up. He was in a juvenile detention, and when I would kind of talk about these things and talk about Mikuru, he's an MMA fighter. Maybe some people think he's a real fighter. They don't think you're a real fighter. When I was kind of touching on these things with Floyd, he would just say like, "Oh, what's my opponent's name?" And then I would tell him his name, and he's like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter. He's just another opponent for me." So I
Okay.
think Floyd, his credit to him, his ego, which I think we can only say has served him well throughout his career, was just so high. He had that unwavering self confidence that he was gonna beat whoever they put in front of him, and for good reason. He's 50-0, and he's stepping in an exhibition against an MMA fighter who, despite being a striker, obviously is not has not proven himself as a world class boxer. So, but that's kind of that was Floyd's whole attitude towards the second time around.
Okay. Just want to make sure because I was convinced he actually did not know his opponent's name. So yeah, you like you said, this weekend is Super Rising 4. Um. Well, bunch of fights. I don't know. Whatever you want. I mean, if there's anything you want to say about the show, like I don't know, anything that sticks out for you, anything that like what's gonna make this show special? Yeah, go go all out. I don't know what I don't know exactly what to ask, so go all out. Whatever comes to your head.
Yeah, I mean, Super Rizin 4. Obviously, it's going to be a massive show. It's the fourth in the Super Rizin series. We're going to do it at the Saitama Super Arena. It's going to be the stadium version. We're expecting close to 50,000 fans. I was able to experience 48,000 last summer when Pacquiao fought against Ampo and Mikuru fought Hiramoto. It was just when you're in there and you see that many people there for an MMA show, it's kind of mind blowing. So it's going to be a massive show. We have two title fights. We have the bantamweight title fight between Naoki Inoue and Fukuda. Um, yeah, you got the Tapology page up here. That's awesome. Fukuda, he's like 3-0 in Rizin. He has two knockouts in exactly 54 seconds. He knocked out Nave in his Rizin debut, and then he knocked out Ashizawa last New Year's Eve. I think both fights were exactly 54-second knockouts. Um, so Fukuda is just an extremely dangerous fighter. His striking is unbelievable. He's very fast, has power in both hands. He's going to give Naoki a really, really good run for his money. He could be the next champion. Um, the super atomweight title fight between Seika Izawa and Yujin Shin. Seika Izawa, what can we say that hasn't been said about her? She's unbeaten. She's beaten some of the greats of the sport, Ayaka Hamasaki, twice. She's finishing everybody. And her opponent Yujin Shin actually is no pushover. She has a very interesting background. She's been competing in MMA. I think since she was like 15 years old in Road FC. She's a very tough opponent, finisher as well. I believe her backstory is like during the lockdown. Let's use a YouTube friendly term. During the lockdown, she was like a shut-in. Like she just stayed in her room for a very long time, wasn't training, was kind of depressed. I think her grandfather had passed away, someone very close to her, and she took like that really dark moment in her life to motivate her to reignite her MMA career, and since then she's been on a tear. So I think maybe a lot of people internationally don't know her too well. She's very well known in South Korea, and she's an unbeaten fighter, which is a very important thing going in, bringing that confidence into a title fight. So of course Izawa is the favorite. Of course, I think a lot of people expect her to win, but crazier things have happened in MMA, so that's why you have to tune in for these fights. It's going to be featherweight chaos as well at Super Resin 4. We have three really really big featherweight fights. Obviously, what is probably going to be the main event is Kleber versus Mikuru, the rematch. They last fought at the Tokyo Dome 4 years ago. Kleber obviously won that fight by submission. Um, and both of them since that time, they've had title fights, they've had ups, they've had downs, and now their paths are colliding again. And I'm really curious to see how this fight plays out because obviously, they both gotten older, they both gotten more experience. Kleber has won the belt, I think won it and lost it twice in that time. Mikuru has challenged for the belt against Vugar since that time. But most interestingly is that in Mikuru's last fight against Suzuki, he showed like a completely new layer to his game. He was taking Suzuki down, doing lots of ground and pound, big elbows, and obviously that's what ended up stopping the fight in the third round. So Mikuru's made leaps and bounds in his ground game. Obviously, his striking, everyone knows, is top notch. And Kleber, in the meantime, he's coming off of a knockout loss against Shea Delayev, and he was protesting the stoppage. He felt it was stopped early, so he's going to be very motivated, and I think it's going to be a very interesting clash the second time around. Um, Outside of that featherweight fight, there's obviously Doubtbeck versus Akimoto. Doubtbeck's on a 4-fight win streak in Rizin. I think he's on like an 11-fight win streak overall. Just unbelievable power in his left hand. I think out of his 11 wins, like 9 of them are by knockout in the first round. So he is just someone that you can't take your eyes off of when he steps into the ring. He's very stoic. He's very quiet. Doesn't say much outside of the ring, but when he gets in there, he's must watch. And then obviously his opponent Akimoto is a superstar in the making, if he's not already a superstar. Obviously trains out of JTT, trains with the Asakura brothers. He's 19 years old. He was born in 2006, so that's probably going to blow a lot of people's minds. He's I think 3-1 in Rizin. He actually his win that kind of launched his career and kind of elevated his presence on the MMA scene in Japan is when he beat Alan Hiro Yamaniha. He stopped Yamaniha, I think, in the first round about 14 months ago. It was on a reality show in Japan, I think. And for an 18-year-old or a 17, he might have been 17 at the time, for someone that young to do that against that talented and that much of a veteran is unheard of, I think. So Akimoto versus Dalpek is a very interesting featherweight fight. Plus, it has implications at bantamweight. Both of these guys can make bantamweight. Dalpek has said in an interview recently that he has, every intention if he wins this fight to move down to bantamweight. And then, Yaman is fighting Masanori Kanehara. Yaman, obviously the kickboxing phenom. Uh, he had a war with Doubtbeck on New Year's Eve. Obviously, he lost his last fight, his last kickboxing fight with the open finger gloves. But Yaman is a guy that you can never count out. He has that power. He's been working on his ground game over the last 2 years. And Kanehara, of course, is a longtime veteran in the Japanese MMA scene. He's had, I don't know, countless fights. He just fought for the belt last year against Suzuki. And he earned that title shot actually by beating Kleber. He beat Kleber at Rizin 44 in September of 2023. So Kanehara is a guy who, yeah, he's getting up there in age, but he's very experienced. I think he has all the tools to win this fight, whether it's by stoppage or by decision. And it's just a really interesting matchup. I think either of these guys can win and go on to get into a title eliminator, or maybe face one of the other tough international fighters. Obviously, Vugar Karamov, Ilham Nozimov, and Viktor Kolesnik all won their fights last month at Rizin Landmark 11, and they did so in pretty dominant fashion. So featherweight chaos is just unending. I think if we could do another Grand Prix, I would have loved for Rizin to do a featherweight Grand Prix. There's just so many good fights. And the last one I'll touch on for now, I could go on forever, is Patricky Pitbull is fighting Shunta Nomura. Patricky Pitbull, he's a longtime Bellator veteran. He's a former champion in Bellator. Him and his brother Patricio, obviously, they ran Bellator for about 10 years. Patricky, he wants to come back to Rizin, and I think everyone knows he wants to fight Satoshi again. He fought Satoshi on short notice 2 years ago and ended up winning the fight by TKO. It was at a catch weight. I think Souza, obviously, he didn't have as much preparation for that fight. But Patricky, he wants to come in here and, kind of change his recent run of results. And Nomura is a guy that Shinya Aoki, everyone who knows Shinya Aoki, Aoki said that Nomura is going to be even better than Horiguchi. That's the type of praise that he's heaping on Nomura. And Nomura, he's the deep lightweight champion. It's a promotion here in Japan. He's on a roll. He just beat Gustavo in his debut back in March. Nomura is just a guy that don't be shocked if you see him as the Rizin champion. Next year, 2 years from now, he's that kind of guy. He's still young, still has lots of time, but still also proving that he can jump into the deep end of the division and not just stay competitive. He can actually win those fights. So there's just so much to look forward to for Super Ryzen 4.
Um, and yeah, also, did you talk about three? They're called Summer Brawl matches. I think is that what they were advertised as? Summer Brawl matches as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. There were three recently announced fights. Obviously, like the Japanese name for Super Ryzen 4 is like Manatsu no Kenka Matsuri, which means like the Midsummer Fight Festival. But to make it simple, we just called the event Summer Brawl. But these three fights, Ashida versus Tanaka, who's this? Taka Kenshin, Sudario's brother, twin brother, Inada. That's a heavyweight fight, and then Taiga Kawabe versus Kuriaki. These three fights were I can't remember the specific name in Japanese, but it's like kind of like the street rivalry or something along those lines. Yeah, these are three additional opening fights that we announced, and they're just going to be fun fights. Guys that come down to throw, they're going to swing. It's going to be finishes across the board. If you ask me personally, Taka Kenshin, obviously he comes from a sumo background, but him and his brother just want to stand and bang with everybody. His record doesn't look. He's a bit unassuming with his record, but don't be surprised if he comes away with a victory in that fight. Taiga, I think, he's someone that's been competing from such a young age that people forget, how young he is still. He's not, if I'm not mistaken, he might be 30 now, but he's been fighting for like 13 years. He's been fighting from a very, very young age. And I can't remember the last time he competed in Rizin, but I think he made his MMA debut against Umeno. I can't remember which event it was at, but yeah, like these guys are coming in and they know what their role is. They know what their job is to kick off the show with violent fights and finishes. So it's I think from top to bottom, this card is packed full of finishes as usual with these Ryzen events.
I think if I heard also correct or read correctly, the winner of the matches or one whoever gets the most impressive performance gets a vacation. I think.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me. We've given out interesting awards in the past. If you remember at Otoko Matsuri, there was a very interesting bonus that was given out. So, yeah, that's just something to add to the intrigue, both for the fighters and for the fans.
Mm. Um, the other thing is I'm also, and this is as a request as a fan of the Ryzen .tv content. Can you
Mm.
have a weekly series with Danny Sabatello and Cena Crimean, just shit talking fighters? Because I think if you want to really get Ryzen .tv well more out there, I think that's how you do it, in my personal opinion.
I don't think you're wrong. I think these guys, they're so entertaining, and we definitely want to, push them out there a lot more to the international fans. I think these are the type of personalities you need to get the eyeballs, to get people to care, to get people to tune in. I did an interview, obviously, with Danny Sabatello recently. We uploaded it to YouTube, and the reception he got from the Japanese fans was great. Um, I think obviously people know him from the Bellator days when he had those fights with Rofian Stats. The build up was just theater. It was absolutely entertaining. Um, so yes, the answer to you as a Ryzen fan, as someone who wants to see the more entertaining personalities, is yes. We definitely want to do more content with these fighters, Cena, Danny, anybody that has those types of personalities, anybody that has a story or a character that is gonna intrigue people. We definitely want to do more with them.
And so one of the last questions I have is there anything that people can look forward to on the Ryzen YouTube channel or Ryzen.tv coming up that you can actually say that's like, okay, this will come out for Super Ryzen 4 or for the next Ryzen show or whatever? Anything that you won't get you in trouble?
Yeah, I think for anyone who's been following Ryzen for quite some time now, we have Ryzen Confessions. We have a couple of episodes planned. We have Ryzen Preparations, which kind of gives like a deeper dive into the fighter's personal life, their background, how they started competing, maybe any interesting personal stories they have. We have a couple of those planned. One that I'm really looking forward to that I think is going to be very, very something that it's very atypical, I guess, is we have one with Karshaga Daubek that we're planning on releasing next week, if I'm not mistaken. So that obviously hasn't been publicly announced, but he's a fighter that he's competed enough. I think people will get the hint that okay, maybe they're gonna do a spotlight on this guy. So yeah, that's something that you can definitely look forward to ahead of fight week and during fight week.
Just random side tangent. Did you see Karshiga Dopek, the picture he posted of his parents on
No, I
on?
did not. He
Okay,
when did he do
yes,
that?
this was yesterday, and I'm like, that is exactly how I would expect his parents and Karshiga to react when a photo was taken of them. We'll just put it that way. The the lack of emotion
Wow,
that this entire
real,
family,
yeah,
that apparently I think that entire the Dalbeck family has, and I was just like, yep, that's definitely a Dalbeck photo. That is
that is
definitely.
so funny. Yeah, I must have missed that. Was it a post or was it a story?
It was on X Twitter. I'll send it to you after. But it was just I just saw that photo.
Okay,
I just saw it. I was just like, oh yeah, that's
that
definitely.
is funny. See, that's interesting because when I interviewed Doubtbeck, I interviewed him over the weekend, and his brother, his younger brother, I guess, maybe it was an older brother. He was actually the one doing the translations. He translated from Kazakh to English, and they they look very similar. They're both very stoic. They don't smile very much. I think Doubtbeck, he only smiled at the beginning of the interview, like when I greeted him at the end of the interview when I said goodbye. But everything in between is just very straight faced. His voice is very monotone. He speaks like the same way all the time. No funny business. Just very straightforward. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to see that picture. I didn't know that he
So
posted
like,
that.
it's very. You ever see the guy on Instagram or TikTok who pets the cats and goes friendly or not friendly?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
That's Dotback. If Dotback had that's like that would be Dotback. If Dotback was not a fighter, he'd be that guy, like the friendly or not friendly guy.
Oh,
Uh,
that is funny. That
Before you
is so
go,
funny.
do you want to give any social media, SNS, or anything where people can bother you if you want them to bother you?
Oh, I guess yeah. If you want, if you want to bother me on Twitter, it's I think it's a spot dodge underscore upb. I
Okay,
think that's
I tried to tag you, but I was like, what is that? I forgot what Hafid's Twitter was,
yeah,
and, and I was like, yeah, that was it. I couldn't even remember it. Okay, yeah.
yeah. It's not. It's a pretty niche name. I don't think a lot of people even know what that's in reference to. But yeah, if you want to bother me on X, it's spot dodge underscore upb. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. On Instagram, it's just Hafid Darbaki. But if anything, please just bother the Rizin TV account. I'll be running the account, so just on any of the platforms, Facebook, Threads, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, any of them, just shoot a message on there, and I don't know if you want to just send a waving hand emoji or hi Hafid. I'll I'll try to respond.
Please don't send any don't send any bad photos like what just happened recently. I'll just say that. Please don't.
Yeah.
That's advice account as well.
Please,
Uh,
please don't.
so, but yeah, and Ryzen sorry, Super Ryzen not officially announced, but I'm assuming Ryzen.TV hope officially.
Yes, right. Super Rising 4 will be on Ryzen TV.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm still one of those who has the PTSD from the Fight TV days. Where like, is it gonna be announced? It's be announced. Oh, it's announced the day before, and then yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just I always get worried when I don't hear about it because I'm just like, oh no, not again, not again.
Yeah, don't worry. Ryzen TV is the home for all of the international Ryzen fans. So
Thank God.
all of the events, all of the archives, any shoulder programming, any additional content will be on Ryzen TV.
Great, great. So yes, again, Super Ryzen 4, Ryzen.tv. That'll be next weekend, the 27th. Check your local listings and all that stuff. And Happy, thank you so much again. I appreciate it for doing this. And hopefully people got a new perspective of Ryzen and just like what it is, to work for a Japanese company. I hope that you got a little bit of education out of this as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you so much for arranging the interview and finding the time and adjusting to my time here. I know it's probably an early hour, an odd hour for you, so I really appreciate that. And I want to say thank you as well for spending all of the time you have. Uh, I'm pretty sure even since the inception of Ryzen, just covering the events and trying to get the word out. So we really appreciate what you do.
I try my best. I try my best. Anyway, thank you so much again. Appreciate it. And looking forward to Super Ryzen 4 next weekend.
Awesome. Thank you so much.